given the full-scale invasion, given that you're not pursuing disconnecting Russia from what's called SWIFT, the international banking system, or other sanctions at your disposal, respectfully, sir, what more are you waiting for?
Specifically, with the sanctions we've imposed exceed SWIFT. The sanctions we imposed exceed anything that's ever been done. The sanctions we imposed have generated 2/3 of the world joining us. They are profound sanctions. Let's have a conversation in another month or so to see if they're working.
President Biden there claiming that he's imposing real sanctions on Russian President Vladimir Putin.
And our next guest is pushing back against that response, saying in a tweet, Biden has never understood Putin, and now he's totally unhinged. We should open pipelines, boost NGR production and exports to Europe, and impose real sanctions. The traffic tickets President Biden is writing won't stop tanks and missiles. South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace on the Veterans Affairs Committee joins us now to discuss. That was her tweet, by the way. Congresswoman, what do you think should be done at this point?
Well, certainly what we've done so far is not strong enough. Biden promised that the sanctions would be strong and swift, and he also said yesterday that no one expected the sanctions to have really any impact on Russia's invasion or not, and that's just flat out wrong. But if you look at the U.S., for example, we are more dependent on Russian oil imports foolishly than we have been under the Trump administration. Today, we're importing almost 600,000 barrels of oil from Russia a day, and 1 out of every 12 barrels comes from Russia. If you were to hurt Putin with the oil economy that he has, oil and gas economy, hit him where it hurts with his wallet, ourselves and our allies around the world, that would make a significant difference. So take, for instance, their exports into Europe. It's about $50 billion a year. If ourselves in Europe were to team up and halt those exports from Russia into our countries, that's one step. Of course, that would mean that the United States has to increase oil production, like the Keystone Pipeline, which Biden shut down on day one when he was sworn in via executive order. And so we need to be less dependent on Russia. And I think other commodities should be on the table. SWIFT, the banking payment system, should be on the table. There are Democrats that are saying Biden has not gone far enough. And meanwhile, Biden is also talking about sending more troops to Germany. We already have additional troops that have been sent there over the last few weeks. I know this because I have a family member who's been deployed as a result of the threats from Russia. And other family members are on the ready at standby who are in the military. And we already have 90,000 troops over there. And so we're throwing gasoline on the fire as well, but not taking sanctions seriously enough to make a difference here. And it's very scary to see everything that's happening on the video on the screen. We're seeing Russian soldiers go after civilians. And it's very difficult for me to stomach to watch this happening and unfold, but right now before us in real time. It's very scary.
When you talk about the amount that we're getting from Russia every single day, is that somewhere that Congress could step in? Perhaps you could do something about? And then also your thoughts on the EU today, taking steps and announcing that they're going to freeze the assets of both Putin and Russia's Foreign Minister Lavrov. Is that something that you believe that Biden should do as well?
On the latter, absolutely. I mean, Putin, supposedly, the rumor is he's one of the richest leaders in the world. And why we're not doing sanctions on him personally is beyond me. I mean, we hit sanctions and froze the bank accounts of a few Russian businesses and a few Russian oligarchs, and that was pretty much it. We should hit him financially where it hurts, and that means personally as well. We've got to work together with our allies in Europe, and I'm glad to see that they also halted the certification of Nord Stream 2. That was a good step in the right direction, but more needs to be taken. No one wants to see a massive war with Russia. Yeah. And in order to stop this from happening, we have to take significant steps forward in sanctions, but we have to do it with our allies, not just here and in Europe, but around the world.
All right. Congresswoman Nancy Mace, thank you so much for joining us. And folks, it's 9:41, 9:42 there tonight. We don't know how close the Russian troops are, but that's what people there are dealing with. Is it their last day of freedom? Coming up, questionable timing with the CDC unveiling new guidance on mask mandates, and Mr. Biden's nominee for the Supreme Court pick. We saw that, all while a full-blown war is going on in Ukraine. Is there any coincidence to some of this timing? We'll talk with our panel next. It's coming.